Glucose Revolution by Jessie InchauspA. Picture this. You're 19, carefree in Hawaii with your friends. The sun's beating down, the jungle's this thick wall of green, and there's this insane waterfall crashing into a crystal-clear pool below. You know that feeling when you're young and invincible? That was Jessie InchauspA's moment. Standing at the edge, her friends daring her to jump. "Just keep your legs straight," they told her. "Land feet first, easy." But here's the thing about fear. It makes you forget everything. 1 second she's airborne. The next, she hits the water seated. Hard. The impact races up her spine like a lightning bolt. Crack, crack, crack. Her second thoracic vertebra literally explodes into 14 pieces. Just like that, her whole life shatters too. For 2 weeks, she's trapped in a hospital bed, staring down a surgery that sounds like something from a horror movie. They had to open up her entire torso, fish out bone fragments from her spinal cord, and drill 6 metal rods, each 3 inches long, into her spine. The doctors warned her, one wrong move and she could puncture a lung, become paralyzed, or worse. She made it through, but the aftermath? That's where things got really weird. For years, she battled something called depersonalization, basically feeling like a ghost in her own body. She'd look at her hands and think, whose hands are these? Her reflection became a stranger. This constant fog clouded every thought. That accident lit a fire in her. She became obsessed with one truth. Nothing, absolutely nothing, matters more than being healthy, body and mind. This obsession drove her to study biochemistry and eventually landed her at a health tech startup in Silicon Valley. And that's where she cracked the code. Not just about her own weird symptoms, but about something affecting almost everyone. She discovered this one metric that secretly controls everything: your cravings, energy, mood, weight, skin, sleep, even how fast you're aging. Get this. 88% of us have this totally out of whack and don't even know it. Today, we're unpacking her game-changing book, Glucose Revolution. And I'm telling you, by the time we're done here, you'll understand this hidden language your body's been speaking to you all along. You'll learn how to stop these invisible wars happening inside you and finally take control, not through some miserable diet, but by understanding the elegant, simple power of balancing your blood sugar. Quick question: how are you feeling right this second? Are you buzzing with energy, sharp as a tack, or are you dragging a bit? Maybe you're already eyeing your next snack or fighting off that classic afternoon crash. Most of us are basically just passengers in our own bodies. Jessie has this perfect analogy. Imagine you're sitting in an airplane cockpit surrounded by all these flashing lights, switches, and gauges, and you have absolutely no clue how to fly this thing. You're just hoping it doesn't crash. We deal with cravings, breakouts, mood swings, weight gain, brain fog, terrible sleep, and we just think, guess this is life now. We're fed these useless lines like, just eat less and move more, or a calorie is a calorie. Messages that are often bankrolled by companies more interested in profits than your health. But what if there's actually one master switch in that cockpit? One lever that, once you learn to control it, brings everything else into harmony. That lever is glucose. Now, when you hear glucose, you probably think diabetes, right? But that's like saying water only matters if you're dying of thirst. Glucose affects every single person. It's your body's primary fuel. Every cell, from the neurons firing in your brain to your heart pumping blood, runs on it. To really get where it comes from, we need to go way back to when Earth was just rocks and water. Jessie tells this charming story about the first plant. Let's call him Jerry. Jerry was a total pioneer. He figured out this miraculous trick. He learned to take carbon dioxide from the air, water from the ground, and energy from the sun, and combine them to create something brand new. That something was glucose. This process, photosynthesis, is basically the foundation of almost all life on this planet. Plants use glucose for fuel and construction. They link thousands of glucose molecules into long chains to build their structure. Built one way, you get starch. That's your potatoes and rice. Built another way, you get fiber, the stuff that makes celery crunchy and leaves sturdy. Then plants get really clever. They create another type of sugar, super sweet, called fructose. They pack this fructose into their fruit to make it irresistible to animals. Why? So animals eat the fruit, wander off, and poop out the seeds somewhere new. Genius. Reproduction strategy. Starch, fiber, glucose, fructose, they're all in the same family we call carbohydrates or carbs. Here's our problem. We can't photosynthesize. We can't make our own food from sunlight, so we have to eat it. When we eat starchy stuff like bread or pasta, our body uses enzymes to break those long starch chains back into individual glucose molecules. Jessie shares this cool experiment from when she was a kid. If you chew a piece of plain white bread for a full minute without swallowing, it actually starts tasting sweet. That's the starch converting back to glucose right in your mouth. For thousands of years, this system worked beautifully. Our ancestors got their glucose from whole plants. Wherever they found starch and sugar, it always came packaged with fiber. Fiber is like the protective older sibling. It slows down how fast glucose gets absorbed, preventing it from flooding your system all at once. But today, completely different story. We've figured out how to strip away the fiber to make foods last forever on shelves. We've taken nature's sweetness and cranked it up to 11. We bred bananas to have way more sugar and less fiber, transforming them from these tough, seedy things into the soft, sweet ones we know. We learned to boil sugarcane to create pure table sugar. Our brains are wired from prehistoric times to go crazy for sweetness. It signals energy and survival. But our modern food world has completely hijacked that ancient instinct. We've gone from eating small amounts of fibrous fruit to consuming, on average, over 90 pounds of concentrated sugar per person every year. This massive, fiber-free flood of glucose into our bodies is creating a serious problem, something called a glucose spike. A glucose spike is when your blood sugar shoots up rapidly after eating, then crashes just as fast. Picture a roller coaster. You eat a slice of cake or drink orange juice. The sugar hits your system hard and fast. Your glucose levels rocket upward. But what goes up must come down. Just as quickly, your levels plummet, leaving you exhausted, foggy, and craving more sugar. Jessie's research shows that these spikes, happening day after day, are quietly wrecking our bodies in 3 major ways. She gives us 3 unforgettable analogies to understand this. First is oxidative stress, which she calls the train stops. Imagine your cells, powerhouses, the mitochondria, as your grandfather who took a retirement job shoveling coal into a steam train's furnace. When you eat a normal meal, coal arrives at a reasonable pace. He shovels it in. The train runs smoothly. But a glucose spike? That's like an absolute avalanche of coal, all dumped at once. Your grandfather gets completely overwhelmed. He can't shovel fast enough. The coal piles up around him. He can't move. The furnace dies down, and the train grinds to a halt. When your mitochondria get flooded with too much glucose, they get stressed and release these damaging molecules called free radicals. This process, oxidative stress, damages your cells, mutates your DNA, and speeds up aging. It's why, even though you just ate, you feel completely wiped out. The train has stopped. The second process is glycation, or as Jessie puts it, you are toasting. From the moment we're born, our insides are very, very slowly browning, just like bread in a toaster. This happens when a random glucose molecule bumps into another molecule in your body, like a protein or fat, and damages it. This is glycation, and it's a natural part of aging. You can't untoast toast, and you can't unglycate a molecule, but glucose spikes are like cranking the toaster dial all the way up. More spikes mean more glycation, which means faster aging. This is what causes wrinkles, cataracts, and the slow breakdown of our organs. And here's something scary. Fructose, the sugar concentrated in sweet foods, causes glycation 10 times faster than glucose. The third process is fat gain, which she describes as playing Tetris. When a flood of glucose hits your bloodstream, your body panics. It needs to clear out that excess sugar as fast as possible to minimize damage from oxidative stress and glycation. So your pancreas releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin is the Tetris player. Its job is to grab the falling glucose blocks and stash them away. First, insulin stores glucose in your liver and muscles, where it's kept as reserve fuel called glycogen. But these storage units are small. They can only hold so much. Once they're full, where does the rest go? Insulin directs it to our unlimited storage unit, fat cells. Every time you have a big glucose spike, you're telling your body to store fat. And it gets worse. While glucose can be stored in muscles, fructose has only one destination when it arrives in excess. It gets turned directly into fat, especially in and around your liver. This is why two foods with the same calories can have totally different effects. A sweet food spike is way more damaging than a starchy one because it comes with that hidden fat-creating fructose spike. Even more important, when insulin levels are high, your body is in storage mode. It physically cannot be in fat-burning mode at the same time. High insulin locks your fat cells, preventing fat from being released and used for energy. So if you're snacking all day and spiking your glucose, you're constantly raising your insulin, basically telling your body to never burn fat. This all sounds pretty grim, right? But here's where the revolution begins. The beauty of Jessie's work is that the solutions aren't about deprivation. They're not about some brutal diet or never eating dessert again. They're simple, science-backed hacks that work with your body's biology to flatten those damaging glucose curves. Let's start with one of the most surprising and powerful hacks. Eat your food in the right order. Imagine a study where two groups eat the exact same meal, chicken, broccoli, and pasta. Same foods, same calories. The only difference? The order they eat them. Group 1 eats the pasta first, then the chicken and broccoli. Group 2 eats the broccoli and chicken first, saving the pasta for last. The result? The group that ate carbs last reduced their glucose spike by a staggering 73%. The effect was comparable to taking diabetes medication. How is this even possible? Jessie explains with another great analogy. Your stomach is a sink, and your small intestine is the pipe below it. When you eat carbs first, they go straight into the sink, rush down the pipe, and get quickly absorbed as glucose, causing a massive spike. But when you eat fiber first, the vegetables, something magical happens. The fiber gets to the small intestine and creates this thick, viscous mesh. This mesh slows down how quickly any starches and sugars you eat afterward can be absorbed. So the right order is always fiber first, protein and fat second, starches and sugars last. This single change, eating your salad before your bread, can transform your health. Just ask Bernadette, a woman from the glucose goddess community, who lost 5 pounds in 9 days just by deconstructing her sandwiches and eating the bread last. This leads to the next hack. Add a green starter to all your meals. This isn't just about eating the veggies on your plate first. It's about adding a course of vegetables at the beginning of your meal. We've stripped so much fiber out of our modern diet. This hack is about putting it back in. A simple side salad, some roasted broccoli, or even a few carrots with hummus before your main course provides that protective fiber mesh and dramatically flattens the curve of whatever follows. This brings us to a crucial point that goes against everything we've been taught about weight loss. Stop counting calories. A calorie is simply a unit of heat. Scientists measure it by literally burning food and seeing how much it heats up water. It tells you nothing about how that food will affect your hormones. 150 calories from a donut and 150 calories from Greek yogurt are not the same. The donut, packed with glucose and fructose, will spike your insulin, promote fat storage, and leave you starving again in an hour. The yogurt, with its protein and fat, will keep you stable and satisfied. In fact, studies show that people who focus on flattening their glucose curves can eat more calories and lose more weight than people who restrict calories but ignore their blood sugar. This is because by keeping insulin low, they allow their body to enter fat-burning mode. This is why adding a 200-calorie salad to your meal is a smart move, while adding a 200-calorie soda is harmful. One helps you, the other hurts you. Now let's talk about the most important meal of the day. This saying is true, but not for the reason you think. Flatten your breakfast curve. Your first meal sets the glucose tone for the entire day. If you start with a typical sweet breakfast, cereal, toast with jam, fruit juice, or even a healthy fruit smoothie, you're starting a glucose roller coaster you'll be riding all day long. That big morning spike leads to a crash, which triggers cravings, which leads to another spike, and on and on. Jessie tells the story of Olivia, who, trying to be healthier, switched from toast and jam to a big fruit smoothie for breakfast. She thought she was doing the right thing. After all, it's good sugar from fruit, right? But her symptoms got worse. Why? Because blending fruit destroys the fiber, turning it into a mainline of fructose and glucose that hits your system just as hard as soda. The solution is simple. Go savory for breakfast. Build your morning meal around protein, fat, and fiber. Think eggs, avocado, full-fat yogurt, nuts, or even leftovers from dinner. This one change is so powerful that it makes your body more resilient to glucose spikes later in the day. Of course, we all love sweet things. Jessie's next hacks are about how to enjoy them smartly. First, understand that all sugars are basically the same. Honey, agave syrup, coconut sugar. Your body breaks them all down into glucose and fructose. Don't be fooled by marketing claiming one is healthier than another. If you're going for something sweet, the best choice is always whole fruit, because it comes with fiber. And the best time to eat anything sweet? As dessert, not as a snack. Eating a cookie on an empty stomach is like throwing a grenade into your system. Massive spike. But eating that same cookie after a balanced meal that contained fiber, protein, and fat, that's like gently placing it into a cushioned box. The other food acts as clothing for the naked carbs, slowing everything down and dramatically reducing the spike. But what about when you can't help it? You're at a party, and that cake is calling your name. Here comes the dynamic duo of hacks. First, reach for vinegar before you eat. This sounds weird, but the science is incredible. A tablespoon of vinegar, any kind, like apple cider vinegar, in a tall glass of water a few minutes before eating can reduce the glucose spike of that meal by up to 30%. The acetic acid in vinegar works two ways. It temporarily slows down the enzyme that breaks down starches, and it helps your muscles absorb glucose more quickly. And the second part of the duo, after you eat, move. Your muscles are like sponges for glucose. When they're working, they soak up glucose from your bloodstream for energy. You don't need to run a marathon. Just a 10 to 20-minute walk, doing some squats while watching TV, or even cleaning the kitchen within an hour after eating will put that glucose to work instead of letting it spike and get stored as fat. The combo is your secret weapon. Vinegar before a treat, movement after. Finally, a simple rule for all carbs. Put some clothes on them. Never eat a carbohydrate naked. A plain rice cake, a slice of bread, a piece of fruit. By themselves, they'll spike your glucose, but add some clothes, fat, protein, or fiber, and you transform their impact. Put peanut butter on that rice cake. Add avocado to that toast. Eat a handful of nuts with that apple. This simple principle helps you stay full longer, avoids cravings, and even helps regulate your mood. Jessie shares the powerful story of Lucy, a young athlete with type 1 diabetes who was often angry and irritable. When she learned to dress her carbs and manage her glucose spikes, her mood stabilized, and she felt she could finally be the person she wants to be. And that, in essence, is the revolution. It's not about fighting your body, it's about understanding it. It's about making small, simple changes that have profound impact, allowing you to still eat what you love while getting your energy back, stopping cravings, and transforming your health from the inside out. When you finish a book like Glucose Revolution, something profound clicks. For years, so many of us have been playing a game without knowing the rules. We've been blaming ourselves, our lack of willpower, our genetics, our crazy schedules, for why we feel exhausted, can't lose weight, or crave sugar constantly. But Jessie InchauspA hands us the rulebook, and guess what? The rules are surprisingly simple and incredibly empowering. The most powerful lesson in this book isn't any single hack. It's the shift in perspective. It moves us away from this world of restriction and dieting, which is so often rooted in guilt, and into a world of knowledge and empowerment. The message isn't, don't eat the cake. It's, if you're going to eat the cake, here's how to do it in a way that honors your body. That's a fundamentally kind and sustainable approach to health. What I find most beautiful about this work is how it reconnects us to our own biology. Jessie's journey began with a traumatic accident that made her feel disconnected from her own body. Her discovery of glucose was, in a way, her journey back to herself. It was about learning to listen to the signals her body was sending. By sharing these principles, she gives us the tools to do the same. We don't all need a continuous glucose monitor because she's done the work for us. She's decoded the language. A craving isn't a moral failure. It's often the biological echo of a glucose crash. That mid-afternoon slump isn't laziness. It's the predictable result of a spiky lunch. This knowledge is freedom. It's freedom from the guilt of craving a cookie. It's freedom from the frustration of a diet that isn't working. And it's freedom from the helplessness of feeling like your health is out of your control. If this conversation has sparked something in you, I want to give you a few simple ways to start your own glucose revolution right now. Don't try to do everything at once. Just pick one. First, for your very next meal, just change the order. If there are vegetables on your plate, eat them first. Before the potatoes, before the rice, before the bread. Just try it and see how you feel a couple of hours later. Second, if you're going to have a sweet snack or starchy treat today, make a conscious choice to move your body for just 10 minutes right after. Go for a brisk walk around the block. Put on your favorite song and dance in your living room. Notice the difference in your energy levels. And third, tomorrow morning, try a savory breakfast. Swap the cereal or sweet pastry for a couple of eggs. Swap the fruit juice for a glass of water. Pay close attention to your hunger and cravings before lunch. That one change can be the start of a whole new relationship with food and energy. That was a summary of Glucose Revolution by Jessie InchauspA. We've touched on the big ideas today, but a summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. The real adventure, the real discovery, happens when you decide to travel there yourself. The book is filled with dozens more stories, graphs, and nuances we just couldn't cover. If you feel that pull of curiosity, that sense that this information could be a turning point for you, I wholeheartedly encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about gaining knowledge. It's about starting a new conversation with your own body, one that could genuinely change your life for the better. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please show some support by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. It lets us know we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.